I'm Alex Howard.
And I'm Amanda Silver. And this is Dirty Laundry.
So I went to a concert last weekend.
Yes, you did.
There's one that just passed. And I have a new business idea.
Okay.
Because, this is entrepreneur over
We're
here.
not doing enough things.
I don't have enough.
We don't have enough going on with all of our businesses.
Listen to how brilliant this idea is.
Wait, do we have to trademark this? NDA situation?
TM? Okay. Here's an idea. So my girlfriend and I are going to the concert, and she runs into some people that she knows.
Okay.
And they're all like, hey, catching up, yada yads. And then she's like, oh, are you so excited to see this band? And they're like, oh, no, actually, we're just here for the opener. We don't even know the main guy.
Oh.
And she was like, oh, that's so funny. I don't even know the opener. We just, came early, whatever. We're obviously here for the main show. And I thought, this is like the next level of like a StubHub or like a reselling where it's like, hey, I've bought these tickets. I only want to come for the warm-up act.
And then you leave.
And you swap tickets.
And you pay less.
Because so many people don't come for the opener. And so there's so many seats that are empty.
How many do you think, though?
I think quite a few.
What's the percent?
Listen, I was excited to see the opener.
Right.
And we still dilly-dallied at the bar and had another glass of wine before the show.
So you don't want to be late?
You don't want to be late, but you don't want to be early.
Too.
You don't want to miss the main act. Can you imagine, though? You would always have the seats filled. People could actually be able to access music at a discounted ticket price. You could discover new bands cheaper.
It doesn't have to be just bands. It could be other artists.
Well, sure.
It could be stand-up comics.
Yes. I have an opener?
Oh my goodness. I went to see Jerry Seinfeld.
Don't even. I'm still so jelly I didn't go.
I've
seen him 4 times. I couldn't justify the ticket price.
I've seen him 3 times.
So good.
And my life revolves around Seinfeld references.
Sure.
But I went to see him and he had 2 openers and they were fantastic.
And
then
be on
all
tour
3 were on the stage at the same time, just giving each other props.
Oh, that's cute.
And they were all like really top quality. And I was like Googling the other ones after. I'm like, wow, they have their own followings.
Yeah, of course.
So if you wanted to maybe go and maybe not spend as much, but just see the opener, then you could use your,
my
service.
My new app.
You heard it here first, peeps.
Heard it here first.
What's it going to be called?
Just
the opener.
No. Oh, I like it. I was going to call it seat warmer. Because so not as good as yours, obviously, but because when you like, I don't know,
in your lane, darling.
When you go or like you see like an awards show, isn't it called a seat warmer?
I think there's an official name for that though, like the Oscar people who they go and they just sit in a tuxedo.
What I mean. Is it not seat warmer?
No, I think
seat filler.
I think there's like an industry term for it, but we should find out what that is,
and then that's what we're gonna call it.
And so write in if you know what that is.
Yeah,
if you work in entertainment and you know what that is.
Yes, but don't steal my idea.
No,
and copy it.
No,
and also if you're an app developer, call me. Call me. Where's the camera? Okay, so on today's episode, the very funny, very charismatic, very brilliant Samantha Boss.
She is a boss.
She's like legit.
Her name is Boss and she's a boss.
Yeah. She was named properly.
Yeah. She's got Southern charm. Oh, Midwest. Sorry. She's got Midwestern charm.
She is a mediator, coach. She puts together parenting plans and she works specifically with high conflict. And I love this.
It's a niche that is
seemingly growing. Is it just me or are we just hearing more about it?
I don't know. I don't know if it was always around. Yeah. People were always
it was
high
for sure
conflict
always around.
And it's just getting its time in this,
in the sun?
Exactly. Yeah. Or are people just more vindictive these days?
Oh, gross.
Maybe because more unhappy? Yeah. Or just, I don't know.
I mean, listen, the world is not ideal.
You know what?
People are angry.
But I will say that back in the old days, divorce wasn't equal.
Very true.
Right? Where it was very much man got money, woman got kids.
Yeah.
And so the disputes weren't as even. They weren't as even. They weren't as balanced.
So now
the playing field is even.
Yes.
Right? Where
let's not go that far.
Fine. It's more
evening.
Like for example,
getting closer to
property is completely equal, right? Yeah. There was a time where women didn't have a right to the property.
Yes.
Right? And so that's changed.
Yeah.
And so now I wonder if that.
Well, there was a time when divorce wasn't even legal. So
that's a whole other.
Yeah. But yes, I think what you're saying is now.
What am I saying? Tell me what I'm saying.
I'm going to tell you what I'm saying.
You tell me what I'm saying.
Should I put my media for? Correct me if I'm wrong. But what I'm hearing you say is.
I don't know that, Alex.
that's my professional mediator,
okay,
Alex.
Yeah. What are you hearing me say?
No, I forgot.
story.
What did I hear? The brain, man. She tries so hard. She's working. She has so many business ideas.
The changes in how divorce has been.
Yes.
What's the word I'm looking for? The fact that divorce is more equal now.
Yes.
Has that led to more conflict between the parties?
I think it is just women are becoming more empowered to stand up for what they want and ask for what they need and what they deserve, even in their divorce. And people don't like it, right?
Yeah, fair.
People are not as keen.
The boundaries are up.
Yeah.
And there's a reaction.
And it's uncomfortable. And they're having a reaction to it.
That's exactly it.
Enter brilliant women like Samantha,
who is a team of women who are all have experience with high conflict.
Yeah.
And they're helping women on the front end of this, right? When you've just decided that you're getting divorced, you maybe even haven't gotten to your lawyer yet. She said to even do it before you go to your lawyer.
Yeah.
You create a parenting plan proposal because it's not really a plan until until the other person agrees. Yeah. But it's a proposal of what you want. And so you figure out your needs and your wants first. And then the rest will fall into place.
Exactly.
So welcome, Samantha.
So, Samantha, was it your divorce then that got you into this field?
Yeah. I mean, I was a teacher before. So I taught high school PE, driver's ed, and health. And so I was already teaching and I started helping people. My divorce drugged on for so long. It drug on forever. And it was horrible. And as I was doing my process, people were like, hey, do you have advice? Do you have this? Do you have that? So I was already kind of dabbling in helping people because mine was just a shit show. And I was learning from my mistakes. And then I met my husband now and he was like, you should just teach adults about divorce. And I was like, who's going to hear from me? I am not an expert. I have a master's degree, but it's in PE, who would listen to me? But he's like, you captivate people and you're really good with people. So he's like, and you're vulnerable. You're willing to say all the ways that you fucked up and how to do it better. So that's how it all started. He was just like, take a chance. So I quit teaching and started this business and I've never looked back. And it's been the best decision because I have helped so many people right the wrongs and fix their cases and helped their kids and just all the things that I didn't do right. I've changed lives and families and it's been one of the best decisions aside from meeting my husband who helped me start it.
It was so beautiful.
That. And how long ago was that? When did you start?
8 years ago when I met him, he was really the one that said, I remember, I was a teacher and he was just a worker bee. And he said, you really got to make this a business. And I knew how to help people with divorce, but I didn't know how to make it a business part. The business part scared me. And we sat on the couch one night about this $500 expense to hire someone as a business, person in my job to teach me that side of it. I knew divorce, but I didn't know, and the struggle that we spent over $500 was just hilarious looking back on it now of how much it changed our lives and changed, people's lives that I'm so glad we said yes to that $500 expense because it's really just tenfold on how our lives have changed. But so, I mean, we were just average people and now he's a stay-at-home dad and I do this and we have 2 more kids. And so we have 4 kids total, 2 from my divorce and 2 from us being together. And it's been a magical journey. And again, I mean, when being a teacher was great, but this, to take something that was a complete pain in my ass and make it into some big, huge passion to help people and see those light bulb moments with moms of just holy shit, thanks for letting me know. My attorney didn't tell me that. I had no idea that was an option. I didn't know I could, ask for that. It's been a healing journey for me, honestly, if I could tell the truth. It's just, it's healed all the shit I went through.
Oh, I love that. It's like having kids and having the opportunity to reparent yourself the way that you needed it. It's like, okay, here is what I needed in my divorce. Here are the resources. Here's the information. Here's the shoulder to cry on. Here's whatever.
You live vicariously through these people as if you get a second chance at it.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I find the same. I'm like, wow, they're done. And they're still friends and they have all these, they're going to do Sunday dinners together. And I'm so proud of them, my little graduates, I'm just so proud
most
of them.
Most of mine are never going to be in the same room ever again. My clients are a little bit different.
Fair.
But same viewpoint, to be able to say, I wasn't able to do this for my kids, but you can do this for your kids, and my kids, my older kids, they're 20 and 18 now, and they were 1 and 3 when we got divorced and they're part of my business, which I think, again, brings a different aspect to my coaching style is that my kids and I are all three working this business and they're telling their truths. And a lot of it is about how I failed and how I did wrong. And, and we've all been to therapy and we're all good for it. And we've all healed and expressed it. But both of my kids are like, if us telling our story helps another mom do it better, our kids not feel alone, then we're going to do that. So yeah, they're a big part of my business and it's great.
That is incredible.
And so let's talk about your work. You are specific to parenting plans. Parenting plans are what you do, high conflict parenting plans. And so parenting plans they really can range from a kitchen table on a napkin I've heard of, right? Of nothing, no information, right? To a 50-page, 100-page document that is so detailed. And so how do you determine, or maybe, I don't know if this is, someone else determines it, but which kind of plan people need, or who falls into the category of, okay, they need a full-blown 100-page detailed, or, a sort of less than plan?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's a great question. You have to figure out if you're high conflict. And here's where I think a lot of us go wrong. We sit at that kitchen table and we're like, hey, this isn't working out. Let's get divorced. And you're like, yeah, let's do this for the kids. Let's move on, but let's still be friends. Yeah. Let's still do this. And you prepare to be respectful, mature friends and do Christmas dinners together and share birthday parties and graduations. And that's the intent that we hopefully all have. But then something happens, somebody gets a better job, somebody wants to move, somebody gets with somebody new, and
partner.
The wheels on the Kumbaya bus just fall the fuck off. Yeah. And we're hitting down Flintstone Street and it's horrible. and I prepare people for that, shit season. Yeah. I hope for the rainbows and unicorns and pot of gold, but let's just prepare for the thunderstorm. And so while figuring out if you're high conflict or not, and some people are high conflict from go, some people are, need to be separated rooms, restraining orders from the word jump. And so figuring out if you're high conflict is the first step. And if you're high conflict or have the potential to, so maybe your ex has gotten jealous of you over something in the marriage, or maybe they have a little bit of an ego problem, or they have childhood trauma they've never dealt with, you're going to eventually be high conflict. If you're not at the beginning, you will hit that pivot at some point. There'll be a rough season. And if we get to a rough season, I sure as hell don't want to have to compromise with somebody in a rough season. I don't have to sit and have coffee at Starbucks and talk it out. I want to just be able to resort to my contract, my parenting plan, my playbook, and go, okay, I'm not talking to you. So what's it say on page 7 that we're going to be doing in this section? Because we can't discuss. We're not at that emotional maturity. We're not both here at the same time. One of us is higher than the other. And so I want to fall back on my plan. And the plan is just what's so critical, that it's not for everybody during all phases. It's for the bad season.
Yes.
For the rainy days. I have so many parents that regret. Yes. They regret that they built it when they were friends with the intent they do everything together, but then somebody got a new significant other, and now well, I don't want to do that with you. I'm hurt, and so therefore I can't work with you anymore. And now they have this parenting plan based on friendship, and not written for what it should be, which is a contract.
Yes,
it's a real safety. It's a real safety plan for these high conflict. It really is. It's more than just about the parenting. It's about the interactions and making sure they're done in a safe way, because when you do get into that high conflict,
I think it is anyone. I think to your point, you can start it as friends, you can start it as enemies, and then shift. Like we were always changing dynamics and relationships, but I always say that I'm like, okay, it's all hunky dory when it is, the sun is out and everybody's happy, the birds are chirping. But let me tell you, the second someone gets a big chunk of money, whether it's a promotion or something, or someone gets a new partner. And the gloves come off.
Yeah. And I've seen even something as simple as having a big family.
Yeah.
Really, it sounds great at the beginning, but then this one parent that doesn't have the big support system starts to get offended when I keep calling and saying, hey, Aunt Sue came in from California. Can I have the kids a little bit extra? And you're like, sure, yeah, you can have the kids extra. And then, Uncle Scott came in next weekend. Can I? And if you don't have a good parenting plan to protect your time, one parent ends up taking over and manipulating and taking advantage of the other parent. And then you're like, I hate to be a dick, but I got to say no. Well, why are you saying no? They're only here once a year. And it just becomes this ugly take advantage of. So again, if you don't have a detailed parenting plan, you're expecting both of you to be at the same intellectual level throughout every obstacle your children go through and you go through. And I'm just telling you, if it was that easy, you probably all would have stayed married. Yep. Yeah. So it's not you're getting divorced for a reason. There's a kink in the hose somewhere. And at some point you're going to hit another kink in co-parenting. And I would rather rest assured that I got a fucking game plan, a playbook to follow for when I don't have the courage to say no to you, or I don't feel comfortable. I can say, I'd love to, but I'm just going to do what the parenting plan says.
And so what do some of those clauses look like that are, that a high conflict, whoever, what do they need to have in there as the sort of like benchmark for, or rule book for playing?
Yeah. Yeah. And I call it the playbook because I'm a sports person.
Perfect.
PE, shining itself through. Is essentially like, I just want to make sure that there's detail. So there's no confusion and there's no gray area. I see a lot of, I call Larry's lawyers, that really suck at their job. I call him a Larry. And when Larry fails a parent, and gives them a shitty parenting plan and all that gray area is left there, it creates a whole lot of turmoil and stress for the kids and for that parent. So a lot of things that those kind of Larrys miss is the detail. And she mentioned a long 50-page. Mine's on average 35 to 55 pages long because I cover everything from diapers to diplomas and everything in between. And a lot of attorneys are only going to give you diapers to preschool, and then they want you to pay to come back, and then they'll do, okay, let's do elementary school. Oh, your kid wants to play a sport. We'll come back and we'll talk about that. Oh, your kid wants to go to college. Let's come and talk about that. And I'm like, but every time I have to pay you a retainer to do the work for me. So essentially what my team and I have come up with is a methodology to do all those said things. So when you ask, like, what does it include? It includes specifics.
Right.
It includes the absolute, and numbers are measurable. Numbers are specific. So instead of having a parenting plan that says something like, father will have Wednesdays and every other weekend, that sounds great if I'm freshly divorced. I've never been divorced before. And I read, okay, dad has Wednesdays and everything. And I'm like, that's good. That's specific. But then I'm like, well, wait a second. Well, what time is he picking up the children on Wednesday? And Tommy got sick at 11 o'clock, but Susie's still at school. Do I have to pick up Tommy at 11 and then he picks up later? Now I'm confused. Oh, I'll just call him. Okay, but he's at a job where he doesn't answer, or he sees my number and ghosts me. Now I'm confused. Who is picking up from school? So the detail around time of visitation and holidays and vacation is the number one non-negotiable. You don't sign shit if it doesn't have a number, time, date on start and end time of every single time you can have your children.
Yeah.
Every single time.
100%. We've even gone down now with my parenting plans. I include that, so say one parent is dropping off Monday morning and the other parent is picking up Monday after school. Okay, so your kid calls sick.
Yep.
At 12:30. Well, whose day is it? Whose turn is it? Who's leaving work to go pick up the kid?
Who has a doc day? Yeah. Who's losing time off of work? I have a big project, all those kind of things. And a lot of attorneys, and I'm sorry, either haven't been married with children or haven't had to do all of this, trying to get along with somebody that doesn't like them. And so they're putting these parenting plans together that are so vague. And I hear my clients say all the time, my attorney just said, we'll work it out.
Oh, those are like the worst. Those are just famous last words.
Buddy, that's
we'll
what
discuss
I hired
later. You will not be working it out.
You will later determine. You will later work together. You will later. Well, when the hell is later and who's in charge? Who is later? Like, I want that to be a person to determine. So I think time around, again, visitation, holidays, and vacations, because the only thing I can never get back with my children is time. So I want to make sure that is not manipulated whatsoever. And the other thing that I think really is like bothering me in this decade of doing this is the joint decision making and the lack of detail of what the hell that means. All of these parenting plans are written in legal jargon where I have to have a thesaurus next to me the whole time, and thou shall and thou shall not, and all. Like, I'm already confused by those. And then I have to look up these big words and I don't know what that means. And then it takes me 4 minutes to read one sentence. I think that is ridiculous. I write my parenting plans in layman's terms, so an average Joe and Sue can read what the hell it says. Great. But when it comes to joint decision making, I think when you're talking about the 4 pillars, which every court system uses on education, extracurricular, medical, and religion, that's super like, okay, you're going to learn science. Okay, like, what about science? Well, just science. No. Are you going to learn about the planets? Are you going to learn about the elements? Like, we need to go into specifics under each category and be able to say, is this a high priority that we have to work together, or is this just a daily decision? I'll give you an example. Education. Okay. Dealing with what school our child goes to, that's a big decision.
Huge.
Dealing with special ed, big decision. But a field trip signature, I'm sorry. I'm not calling you to sign the paper that the whole freaking class is going to it anyways. And I'm not even going to be there. You're not going to be there. I'm going to sign the damn thing. I don't need to send it to your house to get your duplicate freaking signature. I'd forged your signature for 17 years while we were married anyways. So I just think it's ridiculous to like not go into detail about what is specifically under those categories. So when I build a custom parenting plan for somebody, I am ripping down like, it's this. And if it's not listed here, then that can go to mediation. But we pretty much nail it on what should be. But we go into another section called daily decisions. So if it's not a joint, it falls in a daily. And now if it's not listed, okay, we go to mediation. But again, I think we've nailed it on what is. But I think the joint is so vague, it leaves high conflict couples or a couple in a bad season. You can't do that. You can't get a haircut without my permission. You can't. And it's just like, it's a fucking haircut. Give it 6 weeks, bud. It'll grow back. You know, we got bigger things to be worrying about. So I just think that is really vague, but parents get all excited. We got joint. And I'm like, okay, just wait for that shitstorm to find you, because it will, you know, because what you think is a joint, the other person may not, and vice versa. So I think that section has to be more detailed.
I always push back too. I'm like, okay, how did you make decisions in your marriage? How did they go? Were they joint? And more importantly, that's what brings you to this point of divorce, is you have different ideas about what's in the best interest of the child. And those are conflicting. And so now what? You can't even make a decision in my mediation room when I'm present and supporting you. And now you're going to go off and do that on your own.
Yeah. Right.
And suspicious. I don't know.
100%. You know, so I'm teaching my clients, again, my clients typically have somebody they're divorcing that is a personality disorder, you know, something's going on over there that working together, or they're abuser and they're the victim. They're never going to be able to work and compromise. You know, that person says white, they say black, and it's just ugly. Right. So I go through and I kind of lay out all the decisions that are going to be made. We kind of write a whole playbook, again, all the way to diploma, no matter how old your kid is. And we pick now. I would rather pick now and know I picked wrong than spend a whole bunch of money coming back every quarter to talk about it again and get abused again and financially burdened again and have all this stress on me, which then I dump onto my children because subconsciously I can't stop it. And I would rather just make the decisions. And like you said, I would rather just say, okay, let me make all the medical decisions. You can make all the educational. I would rather just give up something than to have it written joint and be stuck having to work with this person forever. But when you don't know and you just see like, okay, I got joint, I have just as much rights as they do. You get all excited about it until you go to implement it one time and you think, well, logically, we've done this for 2 years. We'll continue. I say no to that now.
Right.
What? Like, we've done therapy for our kids for years. I say no to it now. But it has to be a joint decision. And then the parent that's usually non-confrontational will always take a step back and comply. And then that resentment builds up like a mofo, you know? And then finally I snap one day in a parking lot over something silly, but it's all that resentment that's been building up of you walking all over me because I have a great, you know, parenting plan that's really big.
Okay, let me understand this. You're working for one person.
One side.
You're drafting for one side, then you're doing almost like an offer to the other side.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So I used to do mediation and I got to the point where I was helping people that liked each other and it was great. And it was, you know, zen, and it was awesome to have two people that wanted to, you know, and I'm talking them through everything. But then I realized, you know, the client that I really wanted to help was my avatar, my former self. And she did not get along with her ex-husband. And so, and my parenting plan was 4 pages and it sucked and it put me back into court 300 more times. So I knew
4 pages.
Oh yeah, it was, but I was excited when I got it. I was like, I'm divorced after 4 years. I got 4 pages. I didn't know what the opposite was of quality. I didn't know.
You didn't know. How could you?
Until I tried to use it. And I was like, surely this is in there. Nope. Oh shit. Who do I call? Larry. Hey, Larry, you fucked me over and gave me 4 pages. Where's the other 25? You know? And so that was horrible. But so that's what I realized. I'm like, you know, it was kind of around when COVID hit and I was like, okay, I can't have clients anymore because of, you know, COVID-95. So I was like, you know what we'll do? We'll just start helping one person. And I fell in love with it. And so for me, I want to get a hold of people like I had today. Larissa, I had a Larissa today who hasn't even said divorce to her husband yet. And she's going to build a parenting plan. So with me, because she knows her kids, she's the one making decisions, a whole marriage. She's been married 27 years. And she's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this. This is what I advise her. Go find your attorney using your parenting plan.
I love that.
Go find an attorney that believes in the detail that you want, because you know you're the one divorcing a high conflict person. You know you're divorcing crazy. You know you're divorcing a narcissist. Your attorney doesn't. And so when you bring in that proposal of saying, hey, number one, I'm smart, so you're not gonna be able to take advantage of me financially. I already know what I want. Number two, I know who I'm divorcing. You don't, never met him. So listen to me when I tell you I need this detail. And number three, if you don't agree with it, I'm not hiring you. So what is it? You know, shit or get off the pot. And so versus how I did it and probably how you guys did it, where you go and you're like, I know nothing. Tell me everything. And they're like, let me tell you what you want to hear. And here's also give me $15,000. And you're like, okay. And then you get a 4-page parenting plan. So I want them to use that. So I just write it up. It's not a legal document yet because no one signed it. There's no names or anything. It's just your ideas. Because I know a lot of these people, especially my clients, they're all over social media and they're seeing this good idea and this good idea. And their girlfriend at the coffee shop said this and their teacher friend said this. And they're getting all of this shit. And it's like thousands of Post-it notes in their head. And I'm just like, let me take all those off and put them in one spot. And again, I think my methodology for high conflict is the best. And let me just tell you what will work with the type of person you're trying to divorce. We're going to die on some hills and we're going to let some hills go. Yeah. But I know what hills not to let go of and what ones to let go of. Yes. And so then you have it all there. And then during the divorce, I have my parenting plan done, my proposal, and I can focus on my kids and my journey. And I'm not distracted with trying to build something, which every Larry waits till like the last minute and says, hey, by the way, Alex, could you give me a parenting plan tomorrow?
Yeah.
What the fuck is a parenting plan? Number one. Number two, what do I write? You know? So then I'm Googling and hopefully you find me.
Yeah.
And so you're helping people all over America or
the world.
The world.
Sister, the world. I got Australia. I got Canada. I got Switzerland. Yes. I mean, people are getting divorced all over this godforsaken world. And there are high conflict people everywhere. Yeah. So it's like, again, I'm just trying to educate of like, I know you have this theory. Everybody does. I mean, I had that theory of like, we'll be wearing matching shirts and still doing stuff together. And, I was bitter in my marriage. As soon as I knew I was divorcing, I'm like, I'm the happiest fucking person in the world. Like, liberation. Let's do this. But then here he was hurt and upset and changed and miserable. And I outed him and, and so he wasn't happy. So he was never going to work with me. And I was resistant to that acceptance for a long time. So I just think it's a matter of like getting people educated, getting it out there that, hey, you're not divorcing someone that likes you anymore. They flipped a switch like this. Yes, you had sex 3 days ago, but now they hate your guts.
Yeah.
And now they want you dead. So now to say that you're going to be able to work together is impossible.
Yeah.
So let's just have radical acceptance that we're here. And again, my ex-husband and I, 18 years of co-parenting, we had 3 years when I got with Jared, my husband now, and had more kids. My ex-husband came out of the woodwork of being nice, supportive, nice. And I jumped on it. We had a great 3-year run where we were besties. We rode in the same car together and I didn't fear my life. Wow. I was dropping my boys off to be babysat so my husband and I could go to the grocery store. It was blissful. Wow. It was great. It was an illusion. I mean, he was faking it. I was faking it, but God, it was a great 3 years. And then, a $72 bill came to the house for my daughter and, you would have just thought I'd beat him with a stick. So it just went ugly real fast over $72. And then we were right back to let's use our 4-page parenting plan again. And it was just,
I'm sure that was a lot of help. Yeah. And you never know what is going to turn that, what's going to turn the tides. It might be something big, like a new partner, or it could be a simple dispute over a bill. So you just don't know how long that honeymoon's going to last.
Yeah.
If you get it at all.
Right. So I would rather be protected. And if we think about contracts and outside of family court, any other contract you sign with your work or you sign, doing something for somebody or, I always use the example Tiger Woods and Nike. You can guarantee that contract is airtight. Mm-hmm. Tiger Woods knows how many commercials he has to make, what color shirt he's wearing, what time he has to show up, how much he's getting paid. It's very detailed. It doesn't say, hey, Tiger, show up. And, if you feel like doing a commercial, you can. We'll talk about it later. Yeah. We'll later discuss what we pay you. We'll later discuss. It's not going to say shit like that. No. He would never sign that. So why are all of us signing these documents that are so vague and not well written? And then we don't realize it's a problem till it's a problem. Yeah. And the only way to get out of that problem is to lay down a whole bunch of more money that has a fucking comma in it to fix that problem.
Yeah.
And that's not fair.
I just love this mix of like reality checking and empowering, right?
Yes.
Because like this doesn't actually work.
It doesn't.
Let me show you the way. Because I think a lot of people are kind of just, the lawyers and the judges and the courts, and there's so many like smoke and mirrors almost. And you're an emotional wreck, of course.
Yep.
And you're sleep deprived and your kids are upset. So they're, everyone's out of whack. And it's like, now here's the best time to make the most important decisions for my money and my children. That seems fair.
And like, you can't get the money until you've made the decisions about the children. So you're really stuck.
Yeah. They're always hanging something
right? There's
over
something
your head.
hanging. So you're not getting your divorce. You're not getting this. So it's all tied together.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're not getting security until you make those decisions.
And high conflict people, money is their number one, and so they'll threaten you with your children. And again, if I'm a mom listening and I'm feeling emotional and I'm worried about my kids and somebody says, if you come after my retirement or you come after money, I'm going to take the kids from you. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, whatever you want, like, just give me the kids. And so I allegedly get the kids in theory, and I give up my option to all my financial security. It was my right. It was my state given legal right to have it. And I walk away from it. And then 6 months from now, I have the kids, and he's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm coming after the kids again. And you're like, but I gave you money. Yeah, but now I miss the kids and I want to. We never tie kids and money together. And people that do are horrible Larrys that should never make their client feel like they got to give one to get one. And I hate that for them. But I think it ultimately comes down to an education. I just want people educated before they walk in the room with Larry to know, hey, Larry, what is right of first refusal? What about these phone calls? What about vacation? Like, I want them to know. And so that's my whole thing is I want to teach people, what should your parenting plan include? What's the methodology to use with high conflict people? Because we're all going to get there at some point in time. And just protect yourself, because this is supposed to be a great, joyous time of moving on with your life, being a single parent, and finding joy again. I can't find joy if I'm inside a courtroom.
Exactly. And you can't be a great parent if you're constantly off kilter. Trying to, figure out all these important decisions. It's too much. It's too much. Constant. No one's in their right frame of mind. And so there you are. And that's how you get manipulated into really bad decisions.
And so what are the most important things that you think that would go into these high conflict plans? You said the time and all of that detail, but what else?
I like the time. Decision-making detail, a reimbursement policy. So throughout the parenting plan, you're going to have options where you're going to, be splitting educational things or extracurricular things or medical things. But a lot of Larrys forget to put the detail around how do I give a receipt? How do I get the money back? How are we doing payments? And when do those payments? Because if I'm a working class girl and I have the kids and I'm paying up front 100% and I'm waiting on that reimbursement, I'm in the red. I'm in there. And he's over there like living large and has 40 days or forever to pay me back. I need that money back now. So reimbursement policy is typically missing a lot of times. And really, I think the biggest thing is realizing when you get a divorce, your kids aren't the age that they are now forever, and they're going to age up. And so many people sign a parenting plan for this portion of your child's life and not the full 18 plus. And I really think people, like, again, you're supposed to be doing this once and done. Not going back like I did for 8 years, being like, okay, let's put a Band-Aid on this. And then let's put another Band-Aid on it. And, the Band-Aid fell off. Let's put another. It was financially draining. I spent $113,000 on my divorce.
Jeez.
I could have a really nice house had I not had that, So I think it's a matter of knowing what to ask for and being educated. And again, I think we talked about it before, the shame and guilt of divorce. We're not talking about it enough. We gotta talk about it, So I get blasted on social media, for me oversharing my life. But man, if you can learn something from my mess up, I sleep well at night, because my story is the truth. It's my ugly truth. That's my tagline, because I didn't do it right. I hired an estate attorney to represent me because I thought we're getting along. Let's just do it together. Girlfriend, come on, and then I jumped to the number one dog in town. She had the biggest bark and she had the biggest price tag. And I thought, then she'll do me good. $80,000 later, I ended up hiring like a pretty much, nobody that everybody kind of like, well, she's kind of a bitch. That's what I needed. I needed somebody that wore shoulder pads before they were cool and was going to just go in there and fight like hell for me. And she did. Most unorganized woman I've ever met in my life, but she didn't need to be because I was. I needed somebody that was going to be uncomfortable for my ex-husband. And she was that.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Okay. So there is some strategy.
100%
behind
girl,
picking your lawyer.
Strategy. What are you doing?
Well, okay.
We're here for chess, not checkers.
And so many of these, and most, I would say, high conflicts have lawyers involved. Right?
Oh, 100%. Because you're silly.
These are not self-rep.
No.
You've got a lot of players who are giving their advice about these plans that you're putting together, right? I'm sure it's getting twisted and changed and redone all the time.
I just love this idea of you don't even necessarily need to find the lawyer that best suits your taste.
Hell no. If you pick that person, you done fucked yourself. You
it's
don't
the reverse. I'm still on this. Yeah, like, sorry, Samantha, we're not moving on yet.
She's back.
I need to, what's more for the cheap seats? Yeah, you have to be what's going to put them off kilter.
Yeah.
What's going to fuck with their mind? I love 100%. This.
I mean,
says the mediator who's like, let's come together and discuss and be friends. No.
Well, what you said earlier, you said, this is the most traumatic event in my life. I'm not emotionally stable yet. I just left the house. I'm worried about my kids. I'm stressed about my finances. So what do most women do? They go and attract to a lawyer that makes them feel calm
and safe
and comfortable
like a
and
therapist.
safe.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so good about my attorney. And then you see them perform in court for the first time and they're still that safe, calm, relaxed, not saying shit against somebody that's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And you're like, hello, can you fight that fight?
Right.
This is not our strategy. Oh shit. Like, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I just picked somebody for me and not for my case.
Yeah.
My case, if you're high conflict from the word go, you need a court performer.
Yeah.
You need somebody that knows how to do the just all the theatrics in court and be intimidating. And it is a game. I mean, there is not a checklist of like, do this, and you can be divorced.
Right.
It's playing like, okay, what's happening next? You know, it's like a soap opera. At the end of this episode, we got a cliffhanger to the next one. It's a constant, I mean, that's what those cover letters are. It's all a soap opera of, one attorney says this and the other attorney says that. It's all who can intimidate their client quickest.
Right.
And make them feel like they have to give first, So there's a definite strategy. It's chess, not checkers. And your ex who is high conflict, they're just collecting checkers. Oh, beat you at that, beat you at that, beat you at that. And in high conflict, I coach my people of let it go. Let all those chips go. As long as you have the last one, that's all that counts.
Right.
So it's okay to lose sometimes at the beginning, as long as you're still standing at the end.
So what does your, let's say, coaching relationship include? You're working on their parenting plan. You're also helping them strategize for court if it ends up there, or for future disputes as they arise, future conflict. Like, what does that all look like?
Yeah. So I offer the product, at any point in time, anybody listening can go right to my website now and buy that masterclass where they can just get a quick education. Quick education, really cheap. It's going to be the best money you've spent on your divorce just to get educated. So if you just want educated, you can grab that. Take it right now. You can learn at 2:00 in the morning or 2:00 in the afternoon. The other part is the parenting plan. If you listen to that masterclass, you're like, oh my gosh, I want her playbook. Okay, you want her methodology. Perfect. You can hire me to build it. It's a product. It's really automated. I have a whole team of women that are all single moms who have all dealt with high conflict. Behind the scenes, they're all certified mediators, just like myself. So they know how to write a legal document. So they're back there just filling out your questionnaire and reading it and and you get 2 edits on it and we give it to you. And now it's your puppy to take on. The coaching part comes from what my bestie and I, Leah Marie, we developed the next chapter. So that's where you go into a monthly paid membership group. We get 2 Q&As a month. We give training every single Monday. There's 100 hours worth of other trainings, and you can book clarity calls with us. That's where we hone in to help all of our moms with the emotional aspect, learning about finances, learning how to restart, learning how to co-parent during this process, learning how to co-parent on your own, learning all the things associated with divorce, the roller coaster, all of it. So that's where the coaching is all at, is inside the next chapter membership. So we have education, we have parenting plans, and we have coaching. And we want to get you out the door. And our hope is that you stick around in the next chapter for 6 months, get all the tools, get divorced, learn how to co-parent with somebody of high conflict. And then you move on, you just refer us to your friend who gets divorced the next year.
Well, there you go.
Exactly.
It's a community where people can feel safe because they're all going through the same thing. They're all dealing with somebody that does not like them, but they have to co-parent allegedly with them. We all coach parallel parenting.
Yeah. I was going to say it's often counter parenting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And that is even if you could have the most ironclad parenting plan, but if you have 100%. A counter parent, you find a way to just object to every decision.
Yeah.
And
this is where joint decision making doesn't work. So
it's like it becomes no decision making.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Then you're
or
just
delayed decision making. Right. So what do you do?
Yeah. Well, we teach parallel, and essentially what that is as the primary parent who's not high conflict, you are going to really have to play a game with yourself all the time of pick my battles. What do I have control over? What do I not? And a lot of us parents, especially moms, come from this aspect of like, I want to protect the kids as long as possible from all this. So I'll just give in or I'll just do. And I don't want them to know about their dad yet. I don't want them to know it's a problem. I don't want them to know. And we go above and beyond and we protect and we set them up for success and they disappoint us. But we set them up again the next day for success and they disappoint us. And we don't coach that anymore. We coach like, this is your kid's reality. This is who this parent is, and quit bending over backwards and stretching yourself out thin to make somebody appear something that they're not. If this parent doesn't want to parent, don't do that. And so we start teaching boundaries early and teaching, how to not be a people pleaser anymore and going above and beyond for yourself and not the other house. And that might look like your kid's not getting picked up on time because you didn't send 6 reminders. And that might look like a bill not getting paid on time and the police calling you and saying, hey, well, and you're like, oh, that's the other half, call them. It might look ugly. for a while, but you got to show your kids reality. You got to be the truth teller. You got to be the one that just lays it out so your kids know who to trust and who not to trust. And your kids will very easily pick up on who the problem parent is. But you, like I did the first 8 years, blindsiding them and making them believe that somebody is something they're not, they'll resent you.
Yeah. And it's
gaslighting. Say, why didn't you tell us?
It's gaslighting them too, because you're telling them that
your dad loves you.
Is amazing and great. Yeah. But then the behavior is different.
Opposite. Right.
And you're still telling them the same story. Yeah. So something is getting mixed up here.
Right. So we coach on, like we can't set the kid down and be like, hey, here's X, Y, and Z. It's a matter of like, and again, I think that's why our membership and our coaching is so important, because the women put the dynamic of what happened. Oh my gosh, my kid asked me this. What do I say? Mm-hmm. We can tell them here is a neutral, but truthful response back. And then we distract and we move on. And we hope the question comes back around when they're a little bit more mature. We don't have to rip the Band-Aid off and tell the kids 100% the truth, but I'm not going to lie. Right. Does dad like you? Kiddo? Not sure, but I'm leaning towards no. Do you want to go kick a soccer ball around?
Right.
That's it. We don't need to have a kumbaya 30-minute talking session about, does dad like me? I honestly don't give a shit. I don't live my life where I care if dad likes me. Kiddo, I don't care if the neighbor likes me. I don't care if your teacher likes me. I live my life for me. Well, so I take any moment where the kid asks about, and again, and this is hypothetical, dad in a scenario, I answer it, but then I give them an example of how that same question could be applied to a teacher, a coach, a peer, a recess buddy, a bus partner. And I'm like, you've had that happen to you before. Remember last week when you were on the bus and such said this? You've heard people say bad things that aren't true. How did you handle that? So I relate it to something they've already gone through. Yeah. And then they're like, yeah, that's right. That kid on the playground is mean and I don't like them, so I don't play with them anymore. Exactly. So you know what to do next time. So it's just relating it to what your kids have already been through hard things, and so you just gotta, instead of, because I get a lot of parents like, well, I can't coach my kid. I'm not asking you to coach your kid. I'm asking you on being a parent to your child.
Just
parent your child. If you know the stove is hot, aren't you going to say, whoa, don't go near that. That's hot. Don't touch that. Where the family court system says, let them figure it out on their own.
Right.
I don't feel like he's not going to help me with the copay bill at the hospital. So I'm going to go ahead and just prevent it here and say, don't touch the stove.
Or let it happen. Yes. Don't worry. We'll treat the wound after.
You'll discuss it later. I'm not going to do that. I don't coach that. I coach from be honest and truthful and just say, hey, that's how your dad is. Over here, we do things different.
Yeah. I think that's a huge part of it is how you communicate what's happening with your children, because it's not just happening to the other parent.
Right.
It's also happening.
Your kids are watching everything. They are sponges from such a young age. They hear everything. Yeah. They can sense your emotional well-being. My daughter was home from college one of her first times back, and we had just moved into this home, and everybody was getting settled. And I have those two little boys. I have Augie and Brutus with my husband. And yes, that's his name, Augustus and Brutus.
Love it.
My husband's a big history buff,
So cute.
So we were home and my daughter and I went shopping, of course, and we were probably on our way home from Target. And she was like, the big difference between Augie and Brutus's life and Walker and I's? And I was like, well, I mean, we need to have a longer car ride because there's a lot of things that are a lot of things are different. But she said, and I'm not going to get emotional because I've told the story enough. I think I can not cry this time. She just said, they get to see you happy.
Oh.
Now, there was a lot of things that are different, a lot of things that are different. They have two parents. We live in the South. Our finances everything's different. Yeah. There isn't probably anything that's the same other than they have me, just like she had me. Right. Everything is different. But she said, I'm so happy for them that they get to see you happy. And I think that's where a lot of us moms, when we're in these cases of high conflict, we're doing our damnedest to protect our kids from the other parent and the abuse or the trauma or just the emotional neglect or whatever it is. But we're forgetting to have our own relationship with that kiddo and show them who the hell we are and that we are a good person, that we are safe and we are compatible and we are emotionally stable and we are happy.
Incredible.
You don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Samantha.
This episode was written and created by Alex Howard and Amanda Silver, produced, edited, and engineered by RTF Productions. Make sure to rate and review our show if you loved it and give us a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you stream your podcast to stay up to date on all upcoming episodes. Thanks for listening, and go easy on us. We're not your ex.